everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm here today with a reading vlog that is going to hopefully help me fulfill one of my 2026 reading goals, which is to finish the series that I am in the middle of. I'm in the middle of so many series that it's stressful for me personally. I don't want to be sat in the middle of as many series as I am, especially when quite a lot of them are complete. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind being in the middle of series that are being released, you know, as I'm reading them. I find it quite exciting sometimes to have to sit and like wait for a sequel to come out, so I don't mind that in some cases, but there are so many complete series that I just haven't finished reading. It's getting a bit ridiculous. So in today's vlog we are going to try and finish / get up to date with / just get a bit further into some of the series that I am in the middle of. The first book is actually going to help us finish a series. This was released I think at the end of December last year, and I'm just getting around to picking it up. In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. This is the fourth and final book in the series that I forget the name of. The first book is When in Rome. I don't know if it's called the When in Rome series. Can never remember. Either way, this is the fourth and final book. I gave the first book 4.5 stars. The second book I gave 5 stars. The third book I gave 5 stars. So it's looking good. I enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed the others in this series. It's a small town romance series that follows siblings. So book number 1 follows the brother, and then books 2, 3 and 4 follow his 3 sisters. They're all very sweet, they're all very funny, just very small town rom-com vibes, very, very cute. I read a couple of other Sarah Adams books, but they don't hit for me the way that this series does. This series feels quite different to me than like the cheat sheet, for example. I found the cheat sheet, I enjoyed it, it was fine, but it was definitely a bit kind of cringy at times. I don't find this series to be like that. This is a lot more like grounded, witty, that kind of vibe, but still a very fun rom-com. I actually have no idea at all what this one is about. I'm not gonna lie, no idea. We're following Madison and James. Okay, I remember them now from the last book. I believe that he has like always been in love with her, and I don't think she's ever either noticed or reciprocated the way that he feels, and I do love that. I do love boy obsessed. It's one of my favourite tropes. Why don't we actually look at the back so I can tell you what the book is about. Madison Walker was determined to make it in the culinary world of New York, but with her confidence shattered and desperate for a fresh start, she heads home to Rome, Kentucky, where an unexpected opportunity awaits her: the head chef position at a new farm-to-table restaurant. The only catch: the job offer comes from the owner of Huxley Farm, her brother's best friend, and the last person she wants to work for. James Huxley has always done what's expected of him, until now, when Madison's happiness is on the line. While she's never seen him as more than an annoyance, he's loved her quietly for years. Clock it. Now that she's back, he's determined to finally act. The only problem: his charming, wildly successful younger brother Tommy seems determined to win her over first. I didn't know about that. Did I forget that? Did that start happening in the last book? I can't remember. Sounds like a fun time to me. I'm intrigued by the brothers thing. Don't know how I feel about that. But I trust in Sarah Adams that this is going to be a good book. So I'm going to sit and start reading this evening. So excited to do so. It's Friday. So I am so excited to sit and cozy up and read this. Hopefully get it done or almost done maybe over the weekend. And then we can try and finish some of the series. I don't know if we're going to finish any of the series, but we're definitely going to try and get up to date with some that have books left to be released, but I've not even read the books that have been released yet. Anyway, book number 1, In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. I went on the most gorgeous walk yesterday. You might have seen a little bit of B-roll of it. I forgot to film anything when I got back, but yeah, I went on the walk and then I came home and read quite a lot of In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams. Sorry for the slightly awkward angle. I don't have enough hands to hold everything, so we're having to balance the phone, and it's definitely a bit of an awkward angle, but it's fine. I won't be talking for too long. I am now almost halfway, kind of not, I'm more like a third through. I'm on page 126, which is chapter 14, and I'm having a pretty great time. I am flying through this. This is the quickest I have read a book in a very long time. Sorry that I'm speaking quietly, by the way, and that I've got the microphone. It's early in the morning, I'm the only one awake. I don't want to wake anyone up, so we're using the mini mic and talking quietly. I am on chapter 14, having a great time.
I was really worried when I started reading this, I'm not gonna lie. I was really, really worried that because right at the beginning of this book, James is already in love with Madison, and he tells us this in his first chapter. Like, the first line of his first chapter is talking about being in love with Madison. So I was really worried that this was going to move too quick, especially because she, upon seeing him at the beginning of this book, finds him physically attractive straight away. So have I told you what this is about? That they already knew each other. They grew up together. It's brother's best friend. Oh, I did. I read you the blurb. Yeah, they grew up together. So they know each other, but they've not really interacted or seen each other much as adults because of our FMC moving away to New York. So they've not spent much time together at the ages that they are at now. So she sees him and pretty early on finds him physically attractive. That, coupled with the fact that he's already in love with her, I was worried. I was like, this is going to move too quick. This is going to get on my last nerve. But it isn't. It's not moving too quick. Literally nothing has happened at all. They have not told anyone about their attraction / feelings to each other. They've not told each other. There has been nothing. Like, all they've done is hug. They've hugged like twice, and that's it. So I'm very, very happy about that. We are also, I wanted to mention that the FMC is really struggling in this book with anxiety and intense panic attacks. And one of them, it happens on page, but not in detail. Like, it just kind of says she's having a panic attack and then the chapter cuts. So far it's not being in depth on page, but I did want to mention that it is written at the beginning of the book. But in case you don't own a physical copy or you missed it, just be aware that it's quite the topic. It's not like overwhelming the topic at this point, but I think as the book goes on, it's going to become more of a topic of conversation. But yeah, I just wanted to pop in and say I'm having a fantastic time. I watched one of Chandler Ainsley's videos yesterday where she read 5-star predictions, and she actually DNF'd this after giving other books in this series like 5 stars. So I was so worried because I've also given other books in this series 5 stars, but luckily I'm having a different experience to her. I get like her points, but I'm having a different experience and I'm feeling differently, which I'm very relieved about. It's not at this point giving like immediate 5-star feels like the last 2 did, but I think it's going to be at least a 4, which is fine with me. Like, a 4-star is a great rating, a great book, a great reading experience. I'm going to settle down with my breakfast, put some YouTube on, and continue reading in your dreams.
Last night, just before I went to sleep, I finished In Your Dreams, and for most of this book it was given like 4.5. I could not put this down. I was really, really enjoying it. When I wasn't reading it, I wanted to be. It was just, you know, one of those books where you're like, oh, I'll just read one more chapter, oh, just one more, oh, just one more. It was one of those kind of books until it wasn't. Things for me in this book started to go downhill just a little bit before the third act conflict. By that point, I was a bit like, hey, this is nice and sweet, but what next? What now? I did also feel like Madison going from, oh, I find him attractive, to I'm in love with him. It wasn't quick, but it was sudden, if that makes any sense. It didn't happen too early in the book. Yeah, you've thought some nice things about him, but I don't know, it was a bit lackluster for me, that moment of her realising she's in love with him. It was just a bit like, oh, is that it? I don't know, and I kind of feel the same about James's feelings towards Madison, because he was in love with her forever, apparently. I feel like we really could have benefited from not full chapters, but just a couple of flashbacks maybe, to show him falling in love with her when, like, a few years ago, whenever he fell in love with her, just to help us understand it, because from my understanding, they were around each other a lot as children, and then Madison moved away to New York, and I don't quite understand where in the timeline, at what point James fell in love with her. I don't know how old they were. Like, I don't quite understand where that fits in. So I think a couple of flashbacks would have been really beneficial, so that we actually saw him fall in love with her and it felt more believable. It's not that I don't like believe him or think he's not trustworthy. He seems fine. But I just want to see it. I want to see them fall in love on page, and I don't really feel like we saw that here. In Beg, Borrow or Steal, I feel like we saw every single facet, every thought, every second of them getting close to fall in love. I feel like we saw it in that book. And I didn't feel like this in here. The third act conflict then just sealed the deal. Did I say third act breakup earlier? It's not a breakup, it's just a conflict. Sealed the deal. I would have never spoke to him again. I'm not going to say what he did, and like, it's not as bad as you're probably imagining from me saying that. But if I was in that situation and he knew how I felt about being in that situation, and then he did what he did and had all the attention on him, I would have been fuming. Absolutely fuming. She forgave him way too quickly. I would have been furious if I was her, and someone that supposedly loved me and knew me inside out and knew how I was feeling and knew how scared I was, just completely disregarded me and selfishly did something. And like, you might argue he did what he did to like defend her. I think partly that's true. I think partly it was a lot of things that had built up over a long period of time. I think part of it was a bit of an excuse and a bit of a cop-out, to be honest, the reason that he did what he did. I would have been fuming. If I was Madison, I'm not going to lie, I would have either not forgiven him or it would have taken me a hell of a lot longer than the 10 seconds that it took her. So I ended up giving this a 3.5. It definitely wasn't bad, and I had to take into account, like, if I was rating it just based on the ending, I'd have given it like a 2. I did have to take into account that, like, for the absolute vast majority, like for 80% of this book, it was like a 4.5 star vibes. Didn't want to put it down. I loved it up until that bit. So yeah, final rating, 3.5 stars. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to read next for this video. I've got a few options, so I'm going to go away and decide what I want to read next. And then I'll come back and let you know when I've chosen our next book. It is the same day, and I've decided the next book that we're going to read for this video is Sin Bin by Chelsea Curto. This is book number 5, question mark, in the DC Stars series. Is it book number 5? I don't know. I think it's book number 5. This is a series of hockey romances, and I do really like it. I've given every book in the series so far either 3.75 or 4 stars, so I really like it. However, the series is ever so slightly starting to grate on me because of the dialogue. The books are very sweet. They are quite long for what they are, to be honest. I always say I love a long book, but when it's a hockey romance that doesn't really touch on any subject other than hockey and romance, I don't think we need it to be 500 pages. 300, 350 will do. The other thing that kind of irritates me a little bit about this series is the dialogue. It's a very Instagram quotes, very inspirational vibes. Like, it's just not how real people speak. It just isn't. And they say these things all the time in day-to-day life. And don't get me wrong, I love that Chelsea Curto is encouraging like women empowerment and showing the beauty of female friendships. I adore that, I really do. I also really like how vulnerable a lot of the men in this series are, and that they also show their emotions. I really appreciate that. I just think the dialogue isn't realistic, and it kind of, I don't want to say weakens the point, because that sounds really mean, but I do think it takes away slightly from, I don't know, just the emotion of a lot of situations. It takes me out because I'm just like, oh God, this isn't how people talk. Like, you just wouldn't speak like this. No one speaks like this. But all that rant being said, I do really like this series. They're very quick and easy books to read. And the reason I've decided to pick this up now, I was going to put this series down for a little bit, but this book in particular follows the MMC is the coach of the team, and he's very, very grumpy. So my logic is maybe because he's grumpy, perhaps that will mean he's not so on board with the whole Instagram quote, constant inspirational monologues kind of vibe. Maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed. I am skeptical of a grumpy hero. I used to love Grumpy Sunshine when I first started reading romance. I do think it's slightly overdone, but I'm hoping in this book that we get to see a different side to him. Just not an Instagram inspirational quote side to him. We can only hope. So yeah, that is the next book that we are going to read for this video. I haven't started it yet, so I have no idea kind of what the vibes are. I will come back in probably tomorrow. I'm going to read it like all evening tonight. So I'll probably check back in with you tomorrow at some point and let you know how I'm getting on once I've started it. I also forgot to mention that the FMC in here is A, figure skater, and B, I believe she's the sister of one of the hockey players on the team that the MMC is a coach for, if that makes sense. So I think that could add a bit of tension that I think has been missing from this series too. And I love the fact that she's a figure skater. I love reading books about skaters. That's why I read a lot of hockey romance, but I especially love reading books about figure skaters. So I think that could be an element in here that I might like a little bit more than the last couple of books in this series as well. I'm now around 15% into Sin Bin and I'm so bored. I'm so bored. I don't know what it is. Well, I do. That's literally a lie. I know exactly why I'm bored. It's because this book starts and the timeline overlaps with one of the previous books. So the beginning of this book overlaps completely with the events of one of the other books in the series. So the book opens with a spice scene. It tells you in the synopsis that Hannah and Brody start with a one-night stand. So the first like 2 chapters of the book are spice, and it's 2 whole chapters and they don't even sleep together. 2 whole chapters and they don't even sleep together. And then we go straight into the events that we've already seen in another book. I always say I don't mind how much couples want to get it on. I don't mind. That's fine. Do what you want. It doesn't bother me if the physical side of a relationship comes before the emotional. As long as we get the emotional at some point, I'm fine. But what bothers me about this series is that the spice scenes are all like 3 chapters long. I don't need it to be 3 chapters long every time you want to sleep together. Just do it. Give me a sentence or 2. Give me a summary. I don't need to read 3 chapters of it every time you fancy getting it on. I just don't. So the fact that this book opens with 2 spice scenes, again, I don't mind that the story starts with a one-night stand. I knew that was going to happen. That is so totally fine. I don't mind that. But it's just the way that spice is written in these books that just annoys me. So we start with that. Then we go straight into events that I've already read about in another book. Like, I'm talking, we're not even getting a different perspective. It's the same dialogue. The exact same stuff that we've already read in another book. So right from the beginning, sorry, can you hear the washing machine? I'll close the door. So right from the beginning of this book, I'm just not compelled. I'm bored. I'm not compelled. You've not hooked me. You've not drawn me in. I'm bored. I am going to keep going. Like, I'm not DNFing. I don't think I will DNF this book at any point. But it's just, it's really annoying. Like, you might think you complain about this series so often, just DNF it. But, like, no. I really like the couples in all of these books. I like the romances. I like the tropes. I like the ideas and the premises of the books. I'm also really excited for the next 2 books that are going to be released. It's just the execution is a bit drawn out. We don't need romance books to be 500 pages and we don't need every spice scene to be 3 chapters long. But here we are. This is what we've been given. There are a lot worse books out there than this series. As I said, I don't plan to DNF this book. But I did just want to document that 15% in, I'm bored. I just wanted to give you a quick update. I am now 29% in to Sin Bin and I'm having a much better time. I am enjoying it now. I maintained that the beginning was boring, but I am having a good time. We've now got into the part where, I'm pretty sure this is in the synopsis, so it's not a spoiler. We've now got to the part where Hannah is coaching Brody's daughter in figure skating, and I am loving those. I'm loving the interactions between them. As someone who used to do ice skating as a kid, I'm really enjoying just seeing them on the ice. Like, obviously we get that in a hockey romance, but I think it's a bit different when it's figure skating because I don't know anything about hockey. So I'll just kind of breeze past the hockey words. But it's kind of sweet to be able to understand what they're actually talking about and doing in the figure skating lessons. I am really enjoying that. And I'm also enjoying Hannah's kind of quest because she's very burnt out with figure skating. I'm really enjoying her prioritising trying to find joy in it again and not forcing herself to continue like with competitions and things just because it's what she should do. I think it's a really great storyline alongside the romance that Hannah is really trying to just find joy in life and in something that she loves again. So I am having a much better time. I'm really, really enjoying this now. I think it also helps that I'm reading a book for another video that I'm absolutely despising. So this is like the shining light right now. Sorry that I'm just like laid on the sofa. This won't be a long check-in, but I am now 59% through Sin Bin. And it's gone downhill again. I was really interested. I was really enjoying it. And the bits that I'm still really enjoying are actually the scenes that include Liv. I've seen quite a lot of people say that they don't like Liv in... Not that they don't like Liv, but Liv is Brody's daughter. Should have explained that. But that they just forget that she's there, which, like, valid. But I think that also makes sense because she's at her mum's a lot of the time, so she's not, like, always on page. She's also 14, so she's more independent than, obviously, a younger child would be. But I'm really enjoying seeing, specifically, Hannah interact with Liv. And also just Brody. I think a lot of Brody's personality and a lot of his caring side comes out. Not just when he's around Hannah, but when he's around Liv. So I am still enjoying those scenes, but we're not getting enough of them, which I never thought I'd say. I never really care for kids in books either way. Don't mind if they're there. Don't particularly wish for them if they're not. But I want to see more Liv because I just think her and Hannah are the best characters in this book, to be honest. I'm just finding the rest of it a bit boring again because, not to spoil anything, but
I feel like for the first bit of the book, Brody and Hannah are very much like, especially Brody's like, oh, I can't be with her, she's Grant's sister and she's younger than me and blah, blah, blah. And then they have one very, like, not even a conversation, they have one small dialogue exchange, I'm not even calling it a conversation, where they're both just like, should we, like, date? Yeah, cool. And then that's it. And that happens, like, 50-ish% through the book, maybe a bit before. Around 50%-ish, I can't exactly remember. And now we're just plodding along and I'm confused. Like, where's the tension gone? Where's the whole, she's Grant's sister? I should explain for people that don't know, Grant is on the team that Brody is the coach of. So where's the tension gone with that? Like, it's Grant's sister. She's 14 years younger than him. She's his daughter's ice skating coach. So, like, that could be a bit... I don't understand where the tension's gone and why now suddenly... No one knows that they're dating. So I suppose we've still got that, but, like, how are we going to fill another 40% of this book? Because to me, we're at the point now where they need to start telling people, and I'd need someone to kick off just to make this book interesting. I have finished Simbin, and it was fine. It was just fine. I gave it a 3.5. I ended up liking it more than I thought I would, like, by the end. I thought I was going to just hate it with every fibre of my being. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it either, though, to be honest. It was just fine. There were quite a few things in here that irritated me. Pretty much everything I said before stands. I just found it a bit boring. The middle of the book dragged. The transition from, oh my god, no, we can't be together, we can't do this, to like, okay, let's just be together forever. That was a bit like, I'm not saying it happened, it did kind of happen too early in the book too. I'm not saying they actually got into a full relationship necessarily too early, but by that point all the tension was gone. So like, why is that happening 50% through the book? I don't know. I loved the main character, Hannah. What a bisexual figure skating queen she is. I adore Hannah. I also really like Liv. I like Brody. He was fine. He was like a little bit boring though. I can't lie. But he was fine. The book was fine. I don't know what we're going to read next for this video, but whatever it is, roll the next clip of a book that's hopefully going to be better than fine. That'd be great. The next book that we're going to read for this video is These Infinite Threads by Tahereh Mafi. This is the second book in the This Woven Kingdom series. I actually started this series like 3 years ago, and after I read the first book, I didn't plan to continue. I gave the first book 3 stars. I did enjoy it, but it didn't wow me. For context, I can't really talk about the plot of the second book because it's not interconnected standalones. It is a continuous fantasy series. This series as a whole is definitely slower. It's a YA fantasy, but it's not, I don't know how to describe it. It's high stakes. There's some very important things happening, but it is slow in the way that it's told. However, recently I have been liking slower paced books with caveats. I don't like boring books, but I don't mind slower paced books when the plot is still happening. It's just happening slowly and we're spending time kind of getting invested in our characters, or we have beautiful writing which kind of makes up for the plot being a bit slower. So I thought I would actually give this series another go and continue it. I've also seen fantastic reviews of particularly the 4th book in this series, but just of all of them, people rave about this series. So I thought, let's give it another go. I adore the Shatter Me series, very, very different from this one. The same author. So I decided to give this one another go. In the first book, we are introduced to our main character, Eliza, and she is a servant. In this world, you have Jinn and you have Clay. Clay are the superior race, basically. I think they are the most akin to humans. Jinn actually have magical powers, and I think different parts of the world have different rules on this, but they are seen as being lower than Clay. In the particular part of the world where Eliza lives and works, they are not allowed, the Jinn are not allowed to use any of their magical ability whatsoever, and they are basically either servants or struggle to find work at all. So at the beginning of the first book, Eliza is indeed a servant working for one of the like royal houses. I don't know if it's royal, I think she's a duchess, so that's royal, isn't it? I think it's like the cousin of the heir to the throne. Literally doesn't matter. She's a servant in a house, and I'm not really going to say any more than that because I went into it blind, as I do most books. And even though it's slower, there's definitely a lot of twists and turns, like a lot of big reveals. It's just not necessarily the path that you would expect to kind of get there. I am very much enjoying this one so far. I am confused. I'm not going to say who the 2 points of view are in the second book because I don't want to spoil anything, but I am confused as to who they are. One of them's Eliza, as you would expect, but the other one I'm confused as to why we're getting the point of view. I'm not displeased. I'm not saying I don't like it.
I'm just intrigued is probably a better word, as to why we're getting their point of view, considering how the last book ended and how this one began. But yeah, I'm having a good time so far. I am enjoying the reading experience. It's definitely fitting in with my taste recently, as I said, of enjoying just a bit of a slower fantasy, but it's not a cozy fantasy. It is still high stakes. It's just told in a different way to a lot of fantasies at the moment. I'll check back in probably when I'm like halfway through, let you know if my thoughts have changed. But yeah, so far, so good. I have finished These Infinite Fates, and the girlies really weren't joking when they said this was no plot, just vibes. Nothing happened in this book, it was just people chatting. But why did I still kind of like it? I gave it 3.5 stars. It didn't wow me, I'm not obsessed. But I do really love the characters, and that has convinced me to carry on with the series. So, that being said, we are going to be going straight into book 3. I feel like these books won't feature too much in this video. Like, it's books 2 and 3 in a series. There's not a massive amount I can say. But if you are looking for a slower paced fantasy, Persian inspired, with, I think, pretty great characterization, great world too, just, I don't know, just not quite as much plot, but also not cozy, I would recommend this series. But yeah, we are going to go straight into book 3. I'm imagining my thoughts are probably going to be quite similar, to be honest. But these books are just easy. I just love being in this world. I've only read chapter 1 so far, so I can't really talk much about how the book is going so far. But I will come back and update you maybe when I'm like halfway through, let you know if suddenly we've got an action-filled fantasy book on our hands, but I kind of doubt it. I imagine, as I said, that my thoughts will be pretty much the same, but I will let you know. I have finished the 3rd book in the This Woven Kingdom series. Do I remember what it's called? No. Here it is. The reason I don't know is because I listened to it on audio, so it's not like I've been sat looking at like the cover of it in a physical copy. I can't even remember if I told you that I started this. I think I briefly did say that I wasn't going to go too in-depth in this series in this video, because there's just not much I can say by this point. Like, it's a 3rd book in a series. I can't tell you anything that's happening without spoiling it. But what I will say is the plot in this one does pick up a little bit. I ended up giving this one a 3.5. I honestly didn't like it as much as the 1st and the 2nd book, but I have to acknowledge objectively that there is more plot in this. Not much more, but there is more. The tension is kind of growing. The stakes are getting higher and higher. We are definitely getting closer to our end point. It's just taken us quite a few books to get there. But there's just something about this that I love. And if you told me that I would love a slow-paced fantasy where I'm 3 books in and barely anything has happened, I would have laughed in your face. Literally laughed straight in your face. For some reason, I'm just loving this. I think I said before, like, I don't want to be too repetitive, so I won't talk about this for long, but I love the Persian-inspired aspects. I just love the world. I love the characters. I just love it. So I don't really care that we're not doing too much, because I'm just having such a good time hanging out with our characters and just vibing. So yeah, that is that book done. I think the next book we are going to read is A Little Cowboy Romance. I wasn't going to film this clip now because look at me. I've got my hair clipped up in weird little bunches. This is not an aesthetic choice. This is a my head hurts choice. I've got this on, this wheat bag, to try and relax my neck muscles to get rid of the tension headache. But I thought this is my reality. So here we are. The next book we are going to read for this video, potentially the last book I think that we will read for this video, is Wyatt by Jessica Peterson. This is the 2nd book in the Lucky River Ranch series. I read the 1st book last year at some point, really enjoyed it, gave it a 4-star. This is like a silly fun goofy time kind of series, I'm not going to lie. Was the 1st book the most well-written thing I've ever read? No, I don't think it was bad. It's not a literary masterpiece, but I don't think it was bad. If you wrote down everything that would annoy me in a romance book on a piece of paper, all of that stuff was in the 1st book but didn't annoy me. I just found something about it so charming. For context, this is a small-town cowboy romance series. So it's about a family of brothers who own and work on a ranch, and it's a cattle ranch. So there's a lot of like cowboy and lassoing cows, horses, that kind of thing, as you would expect from a. I don't know why I'm mansplaining what a cattle ranch is. Anyway, it's that. And in this 2nd book, it is best friends, like childhood best friends. They both think it's unrequited love, but it's not. But not in like an annoying miscommunication way. It's in like a fun, tension-filled, flirty kind of way. Not in an annoying way, in my opinion anyway. We all have different thresholds for annoyance, and mine is low. I'm very easily annoyed, but this isn't annoying me. It's in a sweet way. So it's best friends. They both don't realise that the other has feelings. It's also fake dating. She's going to ask him to fake date. She's only in town for a very short time. Basically, she is moving away to New York to go and work a new job that she has secured. Before she leaves for New York, she thinks in her head that she finds her best friend, who is a cowboy, attractive because she just needs to get cowboys out of her system. She's like, it's just something I need to do before I go off to New York. I just need to like scratch an itch, say that I've done that in my hometown with a cowboy, and then I'll be free to go off to my new life in New York. It's quite clear that it's because she's in love with him. We'll let the girl be Delulu. I can't. I am literally obsessed with this book. I'm having such a good time reading it. I'm going to go now and take my boyfriend to get his haircut. And while he gets his haircut, I'm going to sit in the car and I'm going to read on my Kindle. And we are going to make our way through this book. I'm hoping I can probably read it maybe by the end of the weekend. These books aren't very long and they are very quick and easy to read. But I'm kind of obsessed. I can't remember how much, if at all, I even spoke to you about this book. I definitely don't think I did a 50% check-in. Either way, I have finished Wyatt by Jessica Peterson. I think I said I was going to read this. I think I explained what it was about. But I have now finished it and I gave it 4.5 stars. I loved this so much more than I thought I would. As I said, I really liked the first one in the series, but I didn't think any of them... I thought they'd just be like fun, palette cleanser, easy breezy kind of reads. And this was a palette cleanser, easy breezy kind of read. It was just a very good one that I ended up rating really quite highly. Usually friends to lovers stories don't work for me. I tend to find them a bit boring, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I'm just like a bit too toxic for that. I like a bit of something in my romance books, I don't know, to kind of keep me a bit more invested. But this was so good. It was so sweet and so tender and just beautiful. Like, I could feel so clearly their feelings for each other that it just made it such a joy to read. At no point did I think, oh, they should stay as friends, or they don't have any chemistry. Literally at any point. They were such a good couple. And I have no articulate thoughts about this book, other than I really loved it. And I think this series, I've only read 2 books, but so far I honestly think this series is underrated. It's not quite on par yet with Rebel Blue Ranch, but it could be. It could be if I like the rest of the books in this series as much as I've enjoyed the first 2. I can see this becoming a favourite cowboy romance series. I just really, really love this. It just made me appreciate my own relationship more, which like sounds stupid, but just seeing how deeply they loved each other and how deeply they have loved each other for such a long time, I was like, wow, we should all be living that kind of, not like we should all be living a childhood friends to lovers, but we should all be in relationships, for those of us that want to be in relationships, that feel like this, that feel like reading this book. And I just thought it was beautiful. So yeah, that is that book done. And that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please do give it a thumbs up down below if you enjoyed, so I know whether to make more of these finishing series videos. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.